Welcome back to the channel, everyone. I am Nuclear.
I'm Ozard.
In today's video, we're going to be talking about potentially the most fundamental concept to the game of Phobies, and that is controlling space.
We'll break this down to identifying the really important space to control within Phobies, and then how to control it and how to attack that space and take it for yourself.
So let's jump into it. Wozard, how do we identify the important spaces on a map?
First, it's where can our heart be attacked, and where can we attack the enemy heart? Where are the majority of the panic points located? And is the space that we are attempting to control safe from vault snipes? These are the core things that we need to pay attention to.
Yeah, so let's check out a map as an example to study. Hold still. So on the screen now is hold still. We also put the checklist from the cheat sheet on the bottom. So take a second now, think about where the important spaces are on this map before we talk about it now.
Okay, so I'm going to be acting as player 1 attempting to attack this red heart. So the space I have that can attack the heart is this space here. Is the area that has range in order to attack the heart.
Well, how did you identify that?
I identify this from any spot that's roughly within 3, anywhere where a sentinel or even like a chuck could hit a heart from range.
So also a klepto or a 2-2, things with some range to be able to...
Those should sit within that area.
Okay.
So let's go talk about the panic point majority on top of that. We have 3 points on the top here, as well as 3 on the bottom, depending on where you're holding from. The bottom, however, takes a lot more effort to hold all 3 of these points, as they have the blocks in the middle. So most of the time, the majority of panic points are held from this top space. Really, really crucially, these 3 panic points are the core part of this map. Of whoever controls these controls the map. I can add in a danger zone here. I'll use green of the vault snipe area from our opponent, being roughly in this area here, which means any space outside of that, we are safe to attack the heart and hold space from, which really ends up meaning that this space right here is our core space that we want to be holding. Anywhere up above this heart or in this middle area will let us both hold the majority of panic points and end the game through hitting the heart.
I'd like to add one thing here as well. This concept is why you have to summon keys at all. Because if someone doesn't summon keys, or if they attack different spaces, then you just attack the heart and you win the game. Otherwise, if this didn't exist, you could just save keys for the biggest combo you could ever do and just destroy all their phobies that way.
Okay, let's run a second example on Rise of Stardom. Nuclear, do you want to take us away?
Yeah, so first of all, we edited the map a little bit because the vaults were recently moved back in one of the most recent balance patches that the Phobies team put out. Now, I think this is a really interesting map because usually you find that the center is an important part of the map. It just happens to coincide with the heart and the panic points. But in this case, that's actually not true. So if I'm player 1 and I want to attack the heart and I want to care about panic points, there's really 2 zones. There's this upper zone and there's this lower zone. So in both cases, the lower zone defends my heart and the upper zone attacks the heart, and both of them have 3 panic points. And there is a little bit of vault pressure, but only sort of, this is 4 tiles away from the enemy's vault. And I bring this up because I do see a lot of people try and capture this middle point, but I actually think that's a little bit of a bait. And it's not super important to do that. It's much more important to be amassing your forces on the top and bottom, and only later on when you're trying to apply panic point pressure or when you do have the control of those spaces, that's when you can be collecting the middle.
Yeah, I'd like to mention the middle can work as a stall breaker as well, in case you do tend to hit a stalemate here.
Absolutely. So that was identifying space. Now let's talk about controlling space. So first off, let's just talk definition. You control a space when your opponent can't safely put their phobies in that space. So that usually means because you can kill their phobies if they go there, but it could also mean you get free damage. But either way, controlled space is your opponents can't put their phobies there.
I would like to add that sometimes you're going to have controlled where two players are controlling the same space. And that happens pretty often in Phobies, where neither player can safely position their Phobies on a square.
Now, Wozard, can you take us through how do we control space?
So controlling space, we broke down into 3 ideas again. First one is being first. Defending Phobies in Phobies have a huge advantage. They can oftentimes hit twice in return of being hit once, which force the opponents to come to you when you own the areas first. Better stats, an Oculus having more range can poke for free, or a turret with more HP can force enemy Phobies off a space. And finally, there's tactics like combos or dives. You can check out our tactics versus strategy video if you want more information. Okay, so let's take this idea into a game and let's build on it. Nuclear, can you identify the space and show how to control it?
Absolutely. So again, we want to think about where we can attack the heart and where the panic points are. So that space is essentially here. You'll notice I haven't really drawn here. That's way too close to the opponent's vault. But this spot here in particular is nice to attack the heart because there's an obstacle in the way, there's panic points, and that is the space I really want to be controlling. That also means this spot becomes a bit of a choke point. So that means on my first turn, I want to be denying you this spot here. So let's go through how we would do that. The first rule, remember, of contesting space is be first. So I might think about the 2 keys that are fast. So for example, cassowary is a really good option here. I could put this cassowary here and I could support it by, I don't know, an AWOL, a razor mouth, something like that. That means that my cassowary is threatening to dive twice onto anything that goes there. It also means that on later turns, I can develop something and I can put my cassowary maybe here, or I can, claim some of this space in this area. So I've skipped ahead a few turns. Wozard brought out a bow on his next turn, and I followed that up with a tinny. So in this case, I have run several cheap phobies all in the aim to really lock down this area here. So in response, Wozard brought out a gravedigger, destroyed the block, and put his bow there. And so here you can see the second part of controlling space. Wozard has better stats. He has a bow, which is not easily killed, and he's threatening now to step up, hit. Razormouth can step up and hit. And so now he is doing a better job of controlling that space. So you can see the push and the pull here of how do we control that space. So Wozard, what do you think I might do here in response to your bow?
A pretty classic response to a bow is just a sentinel, like an Oculus is really classic.
Why is that?
Just because the range difference makes it so if you body block with 1 gi, you can really chip down a sentinel. And once it's chipped a little bit, a sentinel is much significantly weaker.
So let's say my Inoculus is here and your bow is here. My Inoculus can take pot shots at your bow just forever and force it to move back.
Mm-hmm.
So in that case, you can see, again, we're really fighting over this space and we're fighting over who gets to stand there.
Yeah, and we can see that uses the controlling space better stats to zone the bow. Even though the bow has more HP, range is king in a lot of cases for this.
Absolutely. And the final thing I would like to say about this turn is it is really important to take as much space as you can on every turn. So in this case, my cassowary dies here, but my tinny can survive because the tinny can survive a bow shot and a razormouth shot. So if Wozard moves his bow up and his razormouth, my tinny lives there. And I should be okay with that because if bow moves up, or if razormouth moves up, I'm just going to kill the razormouth. But if bow moves up and takes a shot at my tinny is going to get to trade some damage back at the bow. My tinny is faster, it can heal, it's also cheaper and not as important to really protect. So it's all about, we see this fairly frequently when we have mentor reviews. Take as much space as you can and try as hard as you can not to give it up.
Yeah, every tile matters. Additionally, I'd like to remind people that clicking on an enemy unit will show their range and the distance they have of attacking. This is really important because it can help you to double check your work for thinking about when your units are in danger. And this also shows you what space you can contest and what space your opponents are currently fighting for.
Yeah, so just to be clear, it's that red, that highlighted red. So bow can hit all of this stuff highlighted in red here. Whereas if we click on Razormouth, it adds an additional tile there, etc. And finally, here is an example of tactically taking space. So you'll notice we've taken a few turns. I have now just put my Razormouth and recaptured a point. And I, unfortunately, left a tactic available for Wozard. So again, everything is level 1. Take a second if you'd like to try and find this tactic. Wozard has something here to claim space.
We would also like to mention Attractor is not up yet.
Oh yes, this has just been summoned, so it has 1 lock. And the solution is played out like this. So Gravedigger can go up and hit, and Jar Cannon confirms that kill. This is really important to kill the Razormouth so that there's much less of a trade back. Then you get the bow to kill the Innocuous combined with the Attractor.
And then finally, you use the Razormouth to overload. You might as well take another point while you're at it. It forces your opponents to use too many actions.
And you can see here, we talked about fast Phobies getting there first, we talked about stats, and then we just showed that third example, much more complicated, killing something basically, tactically claiming space.
Thank you so much for watching. If you have any other questions on Phobies concepts, please let us know in the comments below. We're happy to make more videos like this teaching.
Yeah, we really do enjoy making these types of videos. And to that end, please like and subscribe. It helps us out a little bit. And yeah, we'll catch you on the next one.